Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about speaking part 1 and what kind of format is the speaking part 1 and what kind of skills you're going to need and what you need to do in order to prepare for speaking part 1. And I'm going to give you a useful tip for making your answer a satisfying answer to get a high band score at the end of this video. So watch this video until the end and you'll get a useful tip to improve your part 1 speaking and to answer the question in a full, correct way to get a high band score for part 1 speaking test. So let's begin. Let's talk about first what kind of format is the speaking part 1 and how long it's going to last, right? It lasts about 4 minutes, but you don't have to worry about it because the examiner will be in charge of the time, right? So, and how many questions are there in speaking part 1? There are about 12 questions, and again, you don't have to be worried about the questions because again, the examiner will be in charge of the number of the questions also. So, what kind of topics you're going to face in speaking part 1? Well, you're actually going to face simple everyday topics generally about yourself and about your life. Like, where do you live? Where are you from? What kind of things you like to do in your spare time, right? What is your hobby? Well, let's imagine if the examiner asks you where you're from, just don't say where you're from exactly, or if the examiner asks you what is your hobby, right? You shouldn't say, well, it's reading books or watching TV, right? Or playing video games. Because it's not enough for examiner to judge your speaking by that answer. It's too short. So let's face it, it's speaking test, right? It's meant to assess your speaking ability. The examiner needs to assess how you can speak, what kind of skills do you have to speak in English, right? Do you speak slow or do you speak fast? Do you pronounce the words correctly or not? Or do you use a grammar in an arranged and correct way or not, right? Do you use advanced vocabularies or vocabularies that are common for everyday topics, right? So it's really about assessing your speaking skills. So don't make your answers too short. And also don't make it too long. Well, let's imagine if examiner asks you, tell me about your workplace, right? You don't have to tell the whole story of the workplace and the whole story of each individuals who work there. You should just describe the place you actually work, right? In a 3 or 4 sentences. That's gonna be enough. If you give too much details about things that are not actually related to a question, you're going to get a lower mark than you expect. So the next one is don't forget to make eye contact. So many students think that there is a rule for examiner to give you extra mark if you make eye contact. Well, it's not true. There is no that kind of rule that examiner gives you extra mark if you make eye contact. Well, then why do you need to make eye contact, right? Well, making eye contact actually makes you seem to be confident. Examiner will see that you have a confidence, you believe in yourself, and you know what you're talking about, right? If you make eye contact with the examiner, you seem to be confident. So if you're confident and you know what you're talking about, examiner believes that you are in position of good English speaking ability, so that actually makes your mark even higher. And your mark is going to be increased by that skill also. So it's really important to make eye contact during the exam, right? So let's move to next one. So next one, be yourself. What does being yourself mean? Well, it means don't memorize answers, right? Many students make a mistake of memorizing answers beforehand, before the exam, so they can narrate those answers without any stopping, without any flow. But you don't just think that examiner is a stupid, right? He is not stupid. He knows if you are talking about your life with the memorized answer, or you're just talking about your life with the answer you're just producing, right? So, well, speaking part one, generally speaking test is actually intended to assess your speaking, evaluate your ability in speaking, right? In speaking English. So if you just talk about things in a memorized way, in a robotic way, right? You just narrate the answer that you memorized. That shows that you don't have any skills. So speaking tests actually meant to assess your ability to speak, not your memory ability, right? So be yourself, don't memorize the answers, just be yourself and produce answers, generate answers by yourself in exam, right? So let's move to the next one. Prepare the common topics. Well, be prepared for the common topics about you, about your hobby, about your workplace, about the things that are connected with your life. Well, you can get those topics from books, practice books, right? And you can actually prepare for that topics by yourself also, like you just produce speech beforehand, before entering exam, right? But you don't have to memorize those answers. You just practice. You just practice, practice, practice. That really makes it better. And now, what you need to do to prepare for speaking part one, right? Well, the first one is make sure you know how to answer basic questions about yourself. As I mentioned, it's really important to be prepared to answer the questions about yourself and about your life. Because the questions are mainly about yourself and about your life, right? As I mentioned here. So, what you need to do to achieve this, you need to do this. Engage in small talks. It really helps. Well, it means you have to practice small talks like opening talks, right? If you meet with new person, you always do small talks first. Like, where are you from? What is your name? Where do you live? What's your hobby, right? Or what kind of music do you like, right? Or what kind of movies do you like? Or what kind of things do you want to do in your spare time? Stuff like that. So prepare for those kind of questions and engage in small talks with your friend, with your teacher, right? If you're preparing for IELTS with your friend, try to make small talks with him or her and actually try to make your answers appropriate for speaking part one as we mentioned before, right? Formats, key skills, right? So also you can also practice small talks with foreign people. You can visit the city centers and meet with foreign people, right? And ask them about where they're from, right? What kind of foods do they like, right? Or you can also ask if they liked your country or not, right? If their country is like yours, right? Stuff like that. And also listen to small talks on TV, movies and radio and etc. It is also one of the best ways to improve your speaking ability, because you can find perfect examples of small talks and opening speech in movies and on TVs and also through radios, right? So it's gonna be really helpful for you. And now the tip that I promised you to improve your speaking for speaking part one: how to answer in a very organized and arranged way to get a high score, right? So let's begin. Well, now let's take a look at these three questions. The tip that I wanted to share with you is this. So let's imagine you are asked this question, this simple question, right? This random simple question. Where do you study? The examiner wants you to give him a full and detailed answer. Not short, not too short and not too long. Many students ask, how can we extend our answer? Because this question does not ask a lot, right? So, where do you study? You can say, well, I study in university. And this answer is not enough. It's not satisfying, it's not good enough to get you a high score, a high band score, right? So what you can do is to divide this question into three. Not actually divide, but add three other extra questions related to this one. Well, you can divide it into three parts. Well, let's imagine. If somebody asks you where you study, what else might they be interested in knowing about the place you study, right? They might be interested in where that place is, right? Where is it? Where is it? And well, let's think. They may be interested in knowing the price, right? How much does it cost? How much does it cost to study there, right? And also, they might be interested in knowing if you enjoy studying there or not, right? Do you enjoy studying there? Okay. So, adding these three questions to the main question can help you to extend your answer. You don't have to do it this way. You don't have to write these questions on the paper. You just do it in your head, right? When you are asked this question, you just search for the questions that are related to this one, that are closely related to this one, and add them and make them useful to make your answer extended, right? So now we can answer in a full format. Where do you study? Well, I study in university and it's not far from my house. And that is really convenient for me. And also, it's not too pricey. And I really love studying there. Or I just enjoy studying there. Because the subjects are great, right? So these three questions really can help now to improve our answer, right? And also be careful, don't add questions that are not related to the main question. If you add some kind of extra not related questions to this to make your answer even longer, you're gonna be out of topic. You're gonna be off the topic, and that really affects your score to be lowered, to be decreased. So be careful with that. Don't add the questions that are not related. This technique only works when you add the questions that are related to the one that is being asked by the examiner. Okay? Now, do you have any siblings? Now, sibling means a close relative like brother or sister, right? So, and also keep in mind to use vocabularies that are advanced or high leveled. As you noticed, I just used convenient, right? And pricey. Try to use high-level vocabularies, but don't pressure yourself into using a lot of high-level vocabularies because that really slows you down. If you know easy vocabulary and with that you can speak fluently and faster, right? Try to use them and try to speak faster. So the speaking test is not actually going to be judged by your what kind of vocabulary you use. It's also going to be judged by your speed, fluency you speak, right? Pronunciation, how you pronounce the words, if intonation, if you pronounce the words correctly or not, right? Grammar, if you use the grammar in a correct way, right? And also vocabulary. So don't just focus on the vocabulary here. Focus on the four things I mentioned, okay? So now, do you have any siblings? If someone gives you this question, what else might they be interested in knowing about your siblings, right? They may be interested in knowing their name, right? Their name, their age, and also if they work or study. Or study, right? Okay, now we can extend our answer. Do you have any siblings? Yes, actually, I have a sister and a brother. My sister's name is Susan. She's 25 and she works in a cafe. And also, my brother's name is Nick. He's 27 and he studies in an international university. So now we can actually give a full detailed answer for this question, and it's more extended than the one just saying I have a brother and a sister, right? And it's really useful to divide the question into sub-questions, but please be careful, as I mentioned, if the questions you're going to add does not match with the main question, it's not going to get you a high band score. Instead, it makes you get out of the topic. So you're going to be off the topic, and that is really bad. And now, what do you do in your free time? Well, if somebody asks you what you do in your free time, what kind of things they may be interested in? Well, they may be interested in where do you do it, right? Where do you do that activity? Well, they may be interested in how often do you do that activity? And they're also going to be interested in if you enjoy. If you enjoy the activity, right? What do you do in your free time? If examiner asks you what you do in your free time, if you answer, well, I just like hanging out with my friends, or I I love hanging out with my friend, right? It's not a complete answer. If your answer is like that, well, your answer may be, I like watching movies. I like going to cinema, right? Or I like meeting with new people. Well, anything, but if you give this kind of short answers, well, again, it's not gonna be enough. So instead, you're gonna divide it again, right? So now we can give a full answer. What do you do in your free time? And your answer might be, well, I really love hanging out with my friends. We enjoy having a stroll, going for shopping, at least twice a week, and we really enjoy it, right? So, as you noticed, I used some of the phrase going out for dinner, right? Having a stroll, and also going shopping. And this kind of phrase are really useful and make your speech colorful and gives enough details to your answer, so you can express what you do, what you enjoy in your answer. So this answer might get you a higher band score than just saying, I love hanging out with my friends, right? So this is what I wanted to share with you. And if you make a good use of it, I am sure that you're really going to get a really higher band score in IELTS. And good luck with your IELTS. And please try to practice a lot. Even with this technique, if you don't practice, it's not going to work. Everything works when you practice it, right? So try to practice this technique and other techniques you know. And as you know, practice makes it better. Okay, thank you. If you like this video, please drop a like and subscribe to this channel. And we'll see you in next lessons. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.